Okay, hello, 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 and welcome. I've been putting this together now for a couple days, and I'm really stoked about it. The inspiration comes from a Tea Witch's grimoire, and I've showed this before on my channel. And I'm going to be doing a tea mixing for when you would want to sit down and do some divination. And so I'm going to prep it with what I've got here. I've changed things up a little bit. I'm going to set it in here. I've never used this before, and I've put a spoon in. So when I add the hot water, I'm hoping there is no breakage, there is no cracking, but I like the idea of being able to see through it. I've got a bottle here after for putting the leftovers in, but when you do this ritual, and you make your brew, you can certainly put the ingredients onto a burner, or you could cast it around your table as well as drinking it. And they suggested bringing in a lot of purple, hence the purple gloves, the purple cloth, and the cup that I found that was quite nice sitting in my cupboard all alone. So I've brought it down here. Now I brought some other crystals because we're going to do the mixing of the brew. And while that's mixing, we'll talk about the crystals I have here. And then we're going to pull some cards from this Sisterhood of the Seers Oracle. Now, because we're doing divination, I chose to pick out the one card there. You can see things clearly. So that is the whole object of this. Mix a brew that we can sip, create a space for divination, bring crystals if you desire, and let's get to it. So that goes over there. And there was a chant that went along with this, and I'll include that if I remember after we get the brew mixed. So I'm going to be mixing my brew in this little cup here. And although she suggested certain ingredients, I'm doing my own thing here, but dandelion root was one of those. And it seemed to be 1 tablespoon of everything. So I'm just going to estimate here. I want enough left over for storing for another time. So I'm going to do 2 of dandelion root. It's quite strong, does have a little bit of a bitter taste. And this is used to transform, I guess, the energy and yourself so that you're ready to do some divination. And it also is great for calling upon spirits and ancestors. So, I've cleared the room, I've brought in the 4 elements, which is something I always do, and ask for guidance during this little adventure that we're on. Now, the other thing I'm doing is including some rose black tea. I like the idea of the black for the strength, and you can see some of the rose petal in there, and that really opens up the heart. So we're dealing with logic as well as feeling our way through this with our intuition. And you could also use nettle because it's great at protection and clearing a space. So I'm going to use 2 of these and try to get some rose petals in it. There's a good one. So that's going in. And these little canisters you can get sometimes in Asian stores. And they last a long time, and it's a great way to store your fresh teas and things. Okay, now I'm adding in some date that I previously chopped. And dates are good for, one of the things was hospitality. And so I'm inviting people in, and we're sharing this information, and it's just, from the heart to you guys. So I'm going to get some dates in here. And that will add a little bit of sweetness, as well as the hospitality. They get a little sticky. That should be good. And it gives you that sense of courage and faith in what you're doing. And it brings prosperity and fertility as well. So if you want a fertile environment with lots of insights, dates might be the thing for you. And then I have some citrus peel here. Now, citrus is very good for cleansing you and your space. So we'll get some of that in here. And, you know, when you think of citrus, you think of also that sun energy. You can see the golden color in the citrus here. So we're calling on that for strength and confidence. So that has gone in. So, you know, kind of simple. I've got, what, 4 ingredients here? And it looks pretty divine for our divination. And I might just take this little rose petal and break it open a bit. You know, we're opening ourselves up to divination here, opening our heart as well as our mind. So you can set your own intentions. You can call in your guides, your guardians. And I'm just going to now put a couple spoonfuls. I don't like anything too strong. I'm going to put it in here. And remember, too, that rose is great for psychic abilities and spiritual connections. So let me get a couple spoonfuls. I want to get some fruit too. Okay, so that should be good enough. Now, I am going to pause and place this in my bottle so I've still got my cup when I'm ready. And I'm just now going to add some water. Now I brought down a thermos full of hot water, and it makes it a whole lot easier for our video. And I'm pouring it along the spoon just so it doesn't crack. And it seems to be going well. And that'll make a good couple of teas. So that's a great amount. One of these thermoses, perfect. And I'm just going to let that steep for a wee bit. You can see all the fruits and all the teas moving and that golden energy happening. So as you're stirring, you know, you could be asking for, you know, protection, guidance, and bringing your guides and your guardians and your ancestors in to help you with your divination. Okay, spoon to the side, lid on. Now, let's get this into the bottle. Okay, so this is our Divination Tea, and I'll label this later, and you might have to cut some of the fruits a little smaller to get them in. It wasn't pretty going in, but it is in, and that is the most important thing. So our divination brew is done. Out of the way. Now, what did I bring to the table? Well, I found at a flea market something really cool, and it is this. I was attracted to it, didn't know what it was, and I asked the woman, "What is it?" And she told me it was epidote. So I got to show you this. Being a bit of a lazy witch, I don't always have my paper beside the bed when I'm researching things or playing with ideas, but my coaster ends up being my notepad. So I'll set this here so you can see it, and I'll read you what it said. That it's a mix of aluminum and iron, and it's for increase, it's for abundance, it's for prosperity, and it's for spiritual growth. So if I'm doing some divination and there's things for me to learn, epidote just sort of found its way into my home. So it's great for perception, great for interaction with spiritual beings. And I like the point on the end for that. It brings harmony. It has a sort of magnetic feel to it. And it would be good paired with amethyst. And the other thing I just gravitated towards at this woman's table also was this amethyst. And it's sort of like a worry stone, but it's also big enough that, I can put the two of them together should I wish to. And the amethyst is always great for divination. And it did say in that little tea grimoire to bring a lot of purple, as I say. So the amethyst is sitting there for that reason. And then I found this in my driveway. I believe this is quartz. And that's a big hunk of quartz. And they also suggested that, as well as some obsidian and things. But I brought some other treats to the table. So what have I got here? Well, the first thing that came was from my collection. And I'm glad that I kept this in its little bag because I am forgetful sometimes as to what things are. But this is a blue aventurine. Good for the third eye, and if you're going to be doing divination, that's always a great crystal to bring. And it's about opportunity and empowerment. So that is an option if you have any blue aventurine hanging around in your crystal collection. The next one, I have not seen that much, and I'm not sure how good you're going to be getting this, but this is larvacite. Now, it suggests that it's a great stone for various psychic and esoteric uses. It can stimulate and enhance vision, your psychic abilities, great for past life recall, remote viewing of the past, and interdimensional travel, and more. Good for elemental magic and also to connect with nature spirits. Man, there's a lot of good things to this, and it repels negativity. So if you didn't want to bring some obsidian or anything like that to the table, you might want to try some larvacite. Now, it does to me remind me of labradorite. Yeah, labradorite. It has that sort of dreamy quality to me. So I've brought that. And it was interesting when I brought my little pendulum to the table, it highlighted these I could use, and these it wasn't keen on. So there's another way to find out if you can't hold it and feel it and get that answer. Maybe a pendulum will help you as well. And the last thing on this side, I have two pieces, is azurite. And it's got a lot of purple color to it. It is exceptional. It's very breakable. But azurite is used to connect to spirit guides, aid healers, good for mediators and psychics. It increases that ability and dissolves energy blocks. Ooh, yes, that doubt that sometimes creeps in, or negativity. And it gives voice to your thoughts and feelings. And I would think that that would help us if we're listening to our ancestors. Give them a voice. Bring them in. So I've got a couple pieces of azurite. And let's pause for a second, see what this tea is looking like. So I've left a little bit of residue in my cup from the mix. That's okay. And I did find that this cup fits very nicely on here. So if afterwards I wanted to do some divination this way, I always sip it down as far as I can. I put the cup on this way, then I flip it, and I try to keep the handle pointing to me, and I spin that 3 times. It doesn't sound great. And then you tap a little bit on the top, and then you begin to look at what's here and what's here, and it's fabulous. But it does take practice and that sense of confidence, and a divination tea would be great so that you can take time to peer into the cup. Now, I'm going to stir this again because I'm hoping for more ingredients to end up in here. think that went well. You can see everything in there. So let me take a little sip and see what it tastes like with the dates and the lemon rinds and orange peel. And it's got a very deep flavor to it, and that's probably the dandelion root, and the dandelion root lending its color as well. That's quite nice. Now, I did also, on my excursion for buying ingredients for teas for mixing, find some coconut sugar and a couple other types of sugar. Like there's one that's vanilla, but my gosh, it's sweet. So you got to figure out what one you want, or just honey. But this is pretty good. So we'll set that aside, and we're back to this again. Now, this one interested me. I like the natural of it, that it's not a tumbled stone. It is, it can dissolve in water, so you got to be very careful with this one. And this is boracite, which is another form of quartz. Great for the heart, the throat, the solar plexus, and it brings clarity, which is what we want when we're doing divination. It's invigorating, and it will raise the vibration. So that one is that. And the other two here, if you like palm sort of, you know, that feeling when you're agitated and when you're working on something or you're playing with the cards, that ability to roll the crystals and hold them in your palms. These are pink calcite. And you can't really see the pink in this light because it's a little bit bright, but there's two of those. But my pendulum picked these. Now with the pink calcite, again, energy amplifier. You can use it directly on the chakras, but I think you'll be holding it when you're doing divination. It balances our polarities, like that male and female. It again takes away fear, reduces stress, and is emotionally balancing. So we got to use all of our senses when we're doing divination, but those are the crystals that I have brought. I don't think I missed anything. So let's go on to the cards. I promised that little chant that was in the book that you could, you know, recite over and over as you sip your tea. And it is, oracles of divine light, send me my second sight. Bless the tools that make it so. Bring the visions for me to know. I kind of like that. It's nice. It's simple. And I think after a few times you could remember it and just keep reciting it. Also, what I will do is get a little dish, maybe even the saucer from my teacup, and put some of the tea we made today into the dish around these crystals, and then start whispering my intentions into them for helping me with divination. And if you haven't seen it before, this is my trusty little pendulum. Got it for a couple bucks, but man, does it work. So let's get this away and let's get the cards on the table. Okay, so I'm just going to shuffle some cards here, and I'm happy that you popped in. I hope some of this information helps you, and it's nice to share a tea with some friends. So, how can we see things more clearly? That is what I'm looking for. And if I pick 3, we might get a bit of a sentence going. And I don't have hours and hours into these cards, but I do pull them nightly. And I'm given so I really feel a bit of a kinship with them. So, how do we see things more clearly? Let's go boink, boink, boink. I hope that's all there for you to see. And don't they look lovely on the purple? Really liking that. So I'm going to pick up some of my azurite here. Seem to have misplaced one, but it's so purple I'll find it later. And so we're looking for answers and aid to help us see clearly. Okay. So higher forces are at play. Yes, they are. And when I look at that picture with the baby whale, with the arms of the whale, protecting and guiding, we need that protection and guidance. We need that sense of security and nurturing with the journey that we're on when we're doing our divination, whether it's for someone else or ourselves. It's nice to know that we're enveloped by something bigger, higher, and ready to work with us. Ooh, there's our heart again. Hear with your heart. Yeah, even though we're using our minds and that sense of the third eye and seeing, lots of us use our intuition. And then being able to, I guess, speak from the heart if we're working for someone else. You got to be gentle when you're speaking to other people. These are their lives. These are their feelings, their thoughts, their passions, their desires. And we have to be thoughtful. And reality mirrors you. Now, I don't even recall that card coming up lately, so I'm going to see what that one says. I guess we're reflecting back into the world. But that's card number 21. Reality mirrors you. It's about growth. And you've got this, it says. Pay attention to your vibrational frequency and sharing your heart with those you trust. So we did have some crystals about raising our vibrational energy. So it talks about a big breakthrough about to happen. Focus on achieving this breakthrough. So you got to see it, just like that says. See it clearly, whatever it is, speak, Lori, whatever it is. Oh, we got singing in my right ear. See it, sense it, feel it. Trust that you can leap from wherever you are, point A to point B, as easily as you can make a cup of divination tea. Is it that simple? The answer is yes, but only if you believe it. Don't let any past experiences or naysayers get in the way of this breakthrough. And we did have some crystals that repel negativity and doubt. And then you go into that silence. You spend some time thinking about what it is you want to accomplish, what you need to receive, or what things you have that you can pull on for getting yourself moving forward. It says you're on the cusp of something meaningful. Hold steady, stay the course, because life is about to move you in an exceptionally beautiful way. Like a leaf that gently flows down a river, so too can this breakthrough feel peaceful. Yes, I don't think everything has to be like bang. Let's move. I always say when I'm doing Reiki, with ease and with harmony. Everything that you request, that I request, I always tail end it with ease and harmony. So it's up to you to flow with the energies and to use this time to expand via this breakthrough. Stay awake, stay alert, so you don't fall back into old ways of doing things. And it has a little bit more, but it says, I allow this breakthrough to happen easily for me. Very nice. So, oracles of divine light, send me my second sight. Bless the tools that make it so and bring the visions for me to know. Thanks so much, everyone. I wish I could share my cup of my divination tea with you. And you know, I'll just have to reach out this way and send blessings and hope that you have enjoyed this. And we'll catch you back here again on Craggy Brook.